Morning, sir.
Morning. Actually, afternoon.
It's afternoon, sorry.
11 o'clock.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay.
Almost getting
Touche.
there. Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Your thoughts on what would you like to see from your team in tomorrow's scrimmage?
Execution, physicality, kind of our identity. I want to see us, play smart, play physical, play with the effort that is expected, and then there's going to be mistakes. But I'd love to see some young guys really take some big steps up, and I'm excited to go against a different colored jersey, but some different scheme. It's fun to have to change gears and do that. So, but really just kind of see our identity come into vision.
The way you guys have been practicing and what we will see tomorrow will be.
Well, hopefully not much different, in terms of the effort, the energy. I expect that never changes. I mean, that's the expectation. Calvin, we don't want to change what we're doing. You put another jersey out there, you don't change the way you work, you don't change the way you run to the ball, you don't change the way you try to block and close on the ball and contain things on defense. So again, I don't expect it'll be much different. Hopefully the pace is one that's exciting.
Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys. Speaking of the plan, will you do more 7-on-7, 1-on-1 drills? I mean, because I know what you do is unique, maybe not the same with what they do with their practice. Have y'all talked about that kind of plan?
We have. Yeah, Sean and I worked through it a couple days ago. He and I will jump on a call this afternoon just to finalize everything. You'll see a 7-on-7 period today here with us today, but tomorrow it's mostly team stuff. Try to get the 11-on-11 stuff going. Their offensive and defensive line, obviously, going against our offensive defensive line. Those are things that you want to see because of the matchups and things like that. But no 7-on-7, mostly team drills.
And I know you've talked to your team about fighting. Historically, or at least in a few times that they've had practice against the Rams, there's been a lot of fights. I don't know.
That's around the league. Yeah, that's around the league. I was in River Falls a long time ago when it was a melee. Yeah.
So I don't know if you made a point to readdress that with your team and talk to Sean about that and how y'all going to handle that.
Yeah, it doesn't change. It doesn't change who we are. You can't throw punches. It's whether you're practicing against yourself, whether you're practicing against the Rams, whether you're practicing against the Ravens. In a game, you can't throw punches. And again, will it get chippy? Maybe. Two really physical teams going at it head-to-head, but don't go over the line. Play to the edge, but don't go over the edge. And that's the message that's constant no matter what we're doing and however we're competing.
Brian Schottenheimer with ESPN. What will Micah do today? Will be on the field, and how's he been in the meetings the last few days?
Been really good. I think you'll see a lot of the same things he's been doing. The meetings have been really good. Like I said, what you see from him is the coaching piece of it and all that he's doing, diving into the other guys. And I don't think you'll see much different. But, again, very engaged, ask good questions. And, I don't think that's going to change.
Maybe not a big deal, but he came out. He wasn't in his practice jersey.
Yeah, not a big deal. I mean, we want all of our guys to be the same. And, again, there's usually a reason if a guy's not in that. But, again, for the most part, we're a team. We're going to always act like a team. And, usually you'll see them all in gear. Yeah, he's doing fine. Kind of a maintenance thing, nothing that should prevent him from playing. But, yeah, he should be fine. Maybe a little bit limited today. I'll go figure that out when I get done here. But nothing that we're concerned about. No, he's got tackle guard flex. I think, John, he can, he's more comfortable on the right, so we'll start him out over there on the right playing some tackle and maybe a little bit inside. But for him, it's a ramp-up period. He's no different than, when you bring these players in, you got to kind of ramp them up. They're not quite ready to go. Like Kenneth Murray missed a couple of days, so he comes back, and you don't immediately throw him back into practice. You start with individual. You start doing things like that, getting them moving, doing football moves and things like that. And so LC will get a few reps today, and it'll be good to see him get back out there and shake some of the rust off.
Obviously, these reps for Tyler Guyton would have been so valuable here in training camp. With him being out, how much value can he get in these mental reps and in meetings and still being here?
Has to, he has to. And it could be watching. It could be the film. Like I said, I think, we've got some good projects that he's working on right now in terms of watching his one-on-one pass sets and his one-on-one run blocks from the spring and from early in training camp. So, you have to make up for that lack of getting the reps. But again, the coaches do a great job. They stay very involved, and they get a lot of questions. You actually get more questions when you're not performing in meetings than you do if you are, because you just want to keep them into it mentally. And it's very, very different when you're not getting the full speed reps that he's missing out on. But again, very comfortable with him, with what he's getting, and we've been talking to him a lot about just attacking the rehab, and he's done a great job, and he's already moving a lot better.
TAs, you had mentioned 3 guys that y'all were cross-training on the offensive side: Turpin at running back, Lipke at tight end, and then Deuce at receiver. We've been able to see some of the Turpin and Lipke packages, but since Deuce has been in and out with the hamstring, is there still some things that y'all want to see on the field with Deuce that y'all have installed?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, his football instincts are off the chart. So intelligent, can play multiple positions. He's really, running back / slot, So, like, you look for those slot matchups and things like that, whether it's option routes or, change of direction routes where you're trying to use his quickness and explosiveness to, match up on a lesser player, whether it's a linebacker or a big boundary safety that, he should be able to have a step on. And, of course, his quickness and suddenness is pretty special. But, again, all those things they're installed, and when he gets back, we'll start, using those again. But he kind of knows his role and how he'll be used. And we've got a package going in today that we call where we put 2 halfbacks in the game. Those normally would be his reps. But again, when you don't get those opportunities, it goes to somebody else. So you'll see Jaden Blue do some of those things, and great opportunity for us to evaluate JB.
Tommy Arsh, DallasCowboys.com. It's first game week. I know the practice tomorrow makes things a little interesting, but what do you try to do throughout the week to get your guys ready? What's that game week process look like with you? Is it pretty standard? Do you try to add some wrinkles to it from what you've learned in the past?
Yeah, Tommy, that's a good question. I mean, we're not changing. Our focus right now is on us. We're going to go line up and play on Saturday, and I'll get more detail into that as we get going through the week. But, our focus right now is on all things Cowboys. And let's have a great practice today. Let's have a great scrimmage tomorrow. We're not doing, the typical, okay, hey, this is first, second down. We're not doing that. We're still in the install phase of what we're trying to get done and focus on, who we are and what our true identity is on offense, defense. We're learning our players. We're learning our scheme. What do we do well? What do we like? What do we not like? What do we need to adjust? And again, we probably won't show a whole lot in the preseason, to be honest with you.
And then you guys had the beach day and families in town this weekend. How fun was that, and how much did you enjoy getting to be with your guys and their families and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it was amazing. Really was. Just a chance to step away and, go and sit and stare at the Pacific Ocean and, have some cocktails and eat and get to know the players' families a little bit better and let them get to know my family and the coaches and everybody. It was really fun. And the operations people, Brian Wansley, Cable, Jason McKay, all the ops guys, Laura Fryer, my assistant, they just did an amazing job. And the Zechariah Doones did an amazing job. So if I had one person come up to me and thank me, I probably had 50. So it was fun because some of the players didn't want to leave. They were having a good time. They were playing cornhole. There were some serious cornhole tournaments going on. Banger's really good, by the way. You guys don't want to play him in a bar in cornhole. He's really, really good. But it was truly a chance for us to slow down and, lean into the ones we love and care about.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. You and Matt Eberflus both talked about your plans for Micah Parsons in terms of moving around and how you can kind of get the most out of him on defense. When a trade request is made, how does that alter your game plan for game 1 already? Is your mind even going there yet?
No, we're still planning on moving Mike around and putting him in all the spots that we see him and using our fronts the way we want to see it. And no, we just, we go about our business every day. We live in the moment. We focus in the moment. And again, like I said, I talked to you guys the other day. I'm not going to get a lot into it, but, I expect Micah to be here.
And then Juan Thomas, we haven't seen a little bit. How's he doing? What's kind of the expectations for a return?
He's doing really well. He was actually having a great camp before, he got banged up a little bit, but he's doing really well. I think he's on track. Might be another week or so, but he's working hard. And again, he's found his voice in a good way in terms of his command of the defense and what he's trying to do. And when he's out there, you hear not just the calls, but the confidence in making the calls and actually trumping linebackers on some certain shifts and motions, which we challenge our guys with. And Again, he's another guy. He'll be getting a lot of reps in the classroom and gets asked a lot of questions and forced to speak in those settings.
Babe Lofberg, Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, 105.3 The Fan. Brian, this will be, to the best of my knowledge, this will be the first time as a play caller we got to be calling plays with a defensive head coach. Correct?
That is correct.
It can be liberating for you. I know Pete Carroll at playoff game said, when I jumped into a couple of calls, I shouldn't have done it. You won't have to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's and look, everybody you work with is different. Like Pete was great, Jeff Fisher was great, Rex was, really all the guys I work with. There was a ton of meetings that go on behind the scenes, and you talk about the plan and all that stuff. But definitely freeing. You don't have to think or ask. If it's fourth down and you want to go for it, you go for it. And you listen to the people that help you with that information, Ryan Feeder and some of the people that do the game management. But it's definitely a feeling where you feel like you can control the rhythm maybe more than you do when you have to answer to somebody. And I haven't really thought much about it, but it's real. It's very true.
Cowboys Radio 105.3 The Fan. You had an opportunity to examine a lot of your cornerback depth last week or two. I'm interested in your thoughts, especially about Rochelle and Childress and Mann.
Okay. Well, Christian's the newest one. But again, he was with Flus and understands that. Rochelle's actually made some plays. When we worked him out, we loved his size, Brad, and I love the veteran experience. So he's doing a nice job with some of the things we have. He's working mostly boundary corner because he's a big physical guy, and that's what you want in a boundary corner. And then the one that's probably being taxed the most and doing a good job with it is Ian, because he's playing some nickel and he's having to move back into safeties in some roles and things like that. But another guy where the football instincts jump off the film at you. And when you talk to him and you ask him about the things we're trying to do on defense, he's got the immediate answer. And again, what you look forward to from the preseason is watching these guys tackle. Right now when we're in pads, we're thudding off, but big part of this defense is no house guests, and you got to tackle. And so I think that's going to be the biggest thing that we're going to figure out when we go up Saturday against the Rams is, who are the guys that can get people on the ground and do the things we want in that regard. But all three of those guys are getting great opportunities and maximizing their reps.
Can they help themselves in terms of moving up the chart when you get ready to put the final 53 together?
Always. Always. We're always looking for competition, and if a guy plays well, then you'll see them move up. So let's say, most of our racks are like ones go first, then the twos go, then the ones go, then the twos and threes kind of go. So you'll see those guys maybe, if you notice them in the second group, which would be after the first ones, be the twos, you'll see guys move into those spots if there's things that we see that we like and that they're doing the right way and they're playing the game the right way. We're certainly going to reward them.
WFAA. Regarding Micah, what's lost in terms of the value I would assume he brings in terms of taking reps against your offensive linemen, your tackles, getting to block against one of the great rushers in the league, and just him coordinating with, stunts and so forth with new teammates?
Yeah, I think the first one that jumps off the film is probably that, challenging our young tackles. And, of course, you wanted to see Guyton and Micah last year, and then Tyler had the setback. And, going up against, T. Steele or going up against Nate Thomas, that speed and all that stuff, that's part of the competition that we talk about, And so that's the first thing. In terms of the scheme fit and us moving Micah around and all that stuff, we can get those things done in walkthroughs. We can get those things done in talk-through. We can emphasize those things. And, it's more selfishly for us from an offensive standpoint is not having that elite speed edge rusher coming off the corner. But Donovan's done a great job. Dante Fowler's having an incredible camp. So it's not like we're short of guys that have elite speed coming off the edge and bending corners.
Dan Greenspan, Associate Press. Brian, in the couple of weeks I've been out here, I've noticed the way you talk about competition, there's a lot of carryover, even down to some of the verbiage between you and Pete Carroll. Why does it seem like your time with Pete was really influential in that part of your footballing identity now?
I just think, when I first got there and Pete gave me an opportunity to go there as the coordinator, there was so many things. So I've always carried around little notebooks, and I just make notes about things that I like and don't like. And okay, when I get an opportunity to be a head coach, I'm going to do this. But I'd never been around anybody like Pete. You know, I mean, Jeff was a fun-loving players coach. You know, Rex was a wild man in a good way. You know, Eric Mangini was very much like, you know, Coach Belichick. My dad was certainly, you know, a certain way. I chuckle about that one. But I just think, you know, when I watched Pete and I was sitting in the meetings, and whether that was a staff meeting or a team meeting, there was just so many things that I was like, you know what, I do believe that. And from day one, Pete said to me, he goes, you know, Schott, he goes, I say this, and I mean it. He goes, you're a football savant. He goes, football just makes sense to you. And it really does. Football comes easy to me. I'm sure it's because I've grown up around the game, but it just comes easy to me. I say that humbly. That was Pete's words. He goes, but do you really know what you believe in? Like, he challenged me. I think it was the very first day he hired me. He said, do you really know what you believe in and what a practice should look like and what the identity of your defense should look like and, you know, what's the practice going to look like? And I kind of paused and I was like, man, I can't answer that right now. I guess I don't know. And so I just love that he really invested in me. And, you know, so I was hooked, you know, and I was listening. I don't do everything that Pete does, you know, but I was captured. I was captured by the way he coaches, his energy, the competition. I've always been a competitor. Whether I'm good at something or not, I'm going to try to find a way to win. I don't always find a way to win, but I'm going to try. And so I think he caught me at the right time.
Mike Leslie, WFA. The number 3 receiver position, how have you seen that competition play out? Is that mostly Mingo and Tolbert in your mind? I imagine Turpin's got a role in that too, but his role is different. Is that mostly Mingo and Tolbert?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're going to roll guys through in that spot. I mean, Turp obviously is different. We all know that. Mingo's having a great camp. I mean, you know, Tolbert is, you know, he doesn't get noticed sometimes, but he just goes out there and does a great job in every phase, in the run blocking, in the receiving element. He just does everything right. So those 3 guys, if you were putting a depth chart out there today, they'd probably be the guys getting the first crack at it. But again, yeah, I want to see, you know, Ryan Flournoy. I want to see Jalen Brooks. I want to see those guys continue to compete. We got some young guys that we're excited about, and you know. But at the end of the day, if you were trying to finalize a roster, which we're not, we're a long way from doing that. Those would probably be the first couple names that go into that spot. But we're gonna be multiple. We're gonna have running backs that play in receiver spots and tight ends that play in receiver spots and linemen that play in tight end spots, and that's all part of our DNA as an offense.
Tomorrow, I imagine you guys probably have settled on a lot of this, probably not tackling to the ground, things like that.
Correct.
Where would you evaluate, how close to full game speed do you expect tomorrow to look?
It'll be fast. I mean, it's going to be fast. And again, it's going to be because, you know, there's going to be some nuances, some blitzes we haven't seen, some route concepts the defense hasn't seen. And, you know, Sean and his staff, you know, Chris Shula and LaFleur, those guys they're awesome. You know, we've competed against them over the last couple of years, and, you know, they're a really good football team. And we think that we'll match their intensity. We think it's going to be no different for us in terms of how we practice. That's what we want. Like, quite honestly, I almost didn't have a joint practice just because of the fact that you're like, hey, if we practice the right way, then why do I need to go practice against anybody else? But then when you start talking about the scheme fit and stuff, Mike, it's like, well, I do need a little bit of scheme, you know, flexibility and looking at 3-4 defenses and things like that. And but it was something that we took into account. We were like, you know what, worked really well last year, and, you know, Sean's easy to work with, his staff. So, but I'll be disappointed if the tempo changes, quite honestly. I think, if anything, we should practice that way today.
Jeff Gold with Fox 4. When you think about your life routine outside of football time, when workday ends and before the next one begins, how much, if anything, has changed about that now as the head coach, and are you sleeping more or less or the same?
Good question. You know, the phone rings a lot more probably than it did when I was a coordinator. You know, there's things that come up at all hours of the day and the night and all that stuff. But, I'm a grinder. I work a lot of hours. I'm more of a night owl. I'm not a 4 a.m. guy. I know Sean is. Sean's a 3:15, 3:45 guy. He and I have laughed about that a little bit. I'm more of a 1 o'clock in the morning type guy. I mean, that's kind of me. I guess I was born at 4:15 in the morning, so I could think that maybe has something to do with it. But look, when I get a chance to get away, I try to turn it off and be around the people I care about, which is my wife and my kids and my family. But it hasn't changed me very much. I just sleep doesn't bother me or lack thereof.
Brianna Aldred, CBS News Texas. When you're looking at a guy like Trayshawn Holden, who's a young guy, but he seems to be getting a lot of eyes on him right now. He's making some splash plays. What have you seen from him? And when it's a guy running mostly with the twos, what are you looking for specifically when you bring another team in here?
Say that last part.
What are you looking for from a guy like him who's taking reps with the twos when another team comes in here?
Yeah, well, again, number one, we were really excited when we got Trayshawn as an undrafted free agent. We had some inside information into him because of Junior Adams being with him. The ability to make plays that you see out there, whether it's catching the in cut the other day, caught a deep cross yesterday. He's just showing up every day. And I think that's what you want to see. What you don't want to see is a guy has a great day, and then the next day, and the next day, those next 2 days, he's quiet, and he doesn't make any plays. He muffed a handoff. It was our fault as coaches because we didn't ball handle it, but he muffed a little sweep that we had around the corner, and he still went for about 25 yards. But the consistency, if you see a guy that's doing it day in and day out, then you are earning those opportunities. If a guy has one great practice and then the next day he disappears, or he's got 2 or 3 mental errors, then you're not earning the opportunity to get more reps with the twos. And he's a guy that has been pretty consistent. I mean, I can think of really 3 plays in the past 2 days alone that he's made that jump off the film. A touchdown in the move the ball period, and then the 2 plays I mentioned earlier, the deep cross, and then the muffed sweep play that we had. But he also asks a lot of questions. He really is curious. And I love players that are curious. They want to know the whys. They want to know, okay, why did we do that? Why would we check that? Why are we alerting that? And it shows you that they're dialed into what we're trying to do and want to understand it on a much more comprehensive level.
Well, just in Dallas Cowboys TV, when you have a running back room where everyone's stacking good days and also showing some versatility, whether it's in pass pro or in the receiving game as well, how hard is it for you in terms of evaluating that room?
Well, it's exciting, one, because you feel like, okay, we got a really competitive room. When you look at it, I've always said it, this is part of the process, but the real process starts, when we start playing games where they're trying to get tackled, and there's blitzers that are actually trying to get to the quarterback. Right now we're dealing with the quarterback halo. The quarterbacks have the red jerseys on, and so when the blitzers come, they engage, but they don't, try to run through them. So I'm really excited about the room. Again, the guy I probably haven't talked about enough that shows up every day now is Phil Maffa. Phil is a guy that, when he moves, it's very smooth, very fluid. His vision is excellent. And so he's a guy that I didn't really have much of a feel for in the spring because I didn't see him do much. And now over the past, whatever it's been, 2 weeks of camp, week and a half of camp, there's something like Trayshawn that we're asking him talking about. He shows up every day with some really, really positive plays that get you excited.
We're about a month out almost for the start of the season. How would you assess how you've been able to handle everything from us to getting practice done, calling plays, dealing with this trade thing, everything of that nature?
Now, you guys are the worst, for sure. I mean, I just step up here in a bad mood every day having to talk to you guys because you guys are so unfair. I just live in the moment. I really do. This is something I've thought about, dreamed about my entire life. Is it different? Not really. It's kind of what I thought it would be. I've been around the game. I've sat in the head coach's office from the time I was a little boy. As a coordinator, you sit in the head coach's office and you're involved in a lot of the big conversations. You don't have the final authority like you do when you sit in this chair. But it really, I don't look too far ahead. We got a lot of work to do. That's why I said, Tommy asked the question, like, what are you looking forward to game week? To me, this isn't a game week. This is a chance for the Cowboys to get better today and tomorrow, and I'll be disappointed if we don't do that. So I don't approach Monday different than how I'll approach Thursday or Saturday during, preseason and training camp. I kind of look at them all the same way, and but I'd be lying if I didn't say I look forward to the chance to go play real football, and I look forward to that on Saturday against the Rams.
We see Joe Milton make some wow plays with his arm and things. Where is he on the boring, mundane stuff that QB has to do?
He's doing really well. The arm is very evident. You would not, you can't miss the arm strength. The biggest thing for Joe right now, has been, I would say, when they cover our top 2 or 3 progressions, where's the outlet? Where's your check down? Like, he's such a aggressive hunter, man. Like, he's hunting up the big in or the deep cross. And if, Flus and them do a great job of punching out and getting depth and forcing the ball underneath. And there's a few times where you're like, man, I'd love for you to get that ball to the check down underneath, because when you throw the ball underneath in zone and they're punching out, right, the quicker you get that to the underneath receiver, the more time he has to run, the more time he has to create with the ball in his hands. The longer you wait, the linebackers and underneath safeties kind of settle their feet, and then they're ready to point, punch, and drive. And so that's probably the number one thing. When we pop 1 or 2 open, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's really more when, okay, they took this away. Oh, they took that away. Now, where's your 2? Where's your 3? And I think that's where he's just got to be more consistent.
Have you made any decisions as far as Dak and the starters go for Saturday?
We have a head start, but no, we haven't finalized it yet. We'll meet as a staff tonight, and we'll have a little bit more information for you in the next couple of days. But like I said, focusing in the moment and getting ready to have a hell of a practice today. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.